Good day, sir. My name is Jasril Ansi Gonzalez from BSPA2F, and here's my midterm summarization of our subject, risk management. First thing first, what is risk management? Risk management is a process to identify the loss exposure faced by an organization, and it also needs to select the most appropriate techniques for treating such exposures. Here are also the objectives of risk management. In pre-loss objectives, first, the firm should prepare for potential losses in the most economical way. One example of this is an analysis of cost of safety program. Second, risk managers aims to reduce of anxiety. Lastly, risk managers aims to meet any legal obligation. In post-loss objectives, first, survival of the firm. After a loss occurs, the firm can resume at least partial operation with some reasonable time period. Second, continue operating. The ability to operate after a loss is extremely important. Third, stability of earnings. X can be maintained if the firm continues to operate. Fourth and lastly, continued growth of the firm. A company can grow by developing new products and markets or by acquiring or merging with other companies. There are 5 principles of risk management. First is proportionate. It must be proportionate. Second, A. Aligned. It must be aligned. C stands for comprehensive. It must be comprehensive. E stands for embedded. It must be embedded within the organization. And lastly, the D stands for dynamic. It must be dynamic and responsive to emerging and changing risk. I've also learned the importance of risk management. First is better decision making and improved efficiency. Second, provision of greater assurance to stakeholders such as the directors. And lastly, create accurate reporting of information on company performance, including risk awareness. Here are also the specialist areas of risk management. First is project risk management. Second, clinical medical risk management. Third, energy risk management. And lastly, operating risk management. Let's move on to risk control. Risk control is a set of methods by which firms evaluate potential losses and take an action to reduce or eliminate such threats. How risk control works? It is a plan-based business strategy that aims to identify, assess, prepare for dangers, hazards, and other potential disasters. Here are also the core concepts of risk control. First is avoidance. It is the best method of loss control. Second, loss prevention. It accepts a risk but attempts to minimize the loss rather than eliminate it. Third is the loss reduction. It accepts the risk and seeks to limit losses when a threat occurs. Fourth is separation. It involves dispersing key assets to avoid catastrophic events and only affect one location. Fifth is the duplication. It involves creating a backup plan. And lastly, diversification. It allocates business resources for creating multiple lines of business. I've also learned the 4 T's of risk management. First is the tolerate. It is an organization's retain enterprise risk within an acceptable limits in cases when the likelihood and impact of the enterprise risk are low. Moreover, the management must also log and monitor the enterprise risk retained because retaining enterprise risk should always be an informed decision. Second is determination. It refers to ensuring that those processes and activities that create more significant risk than benefits should be terminated at shutdown. Third is the treat. It refers to when organization might choose to take action on the most serious enterprise risk to lessen the possibility of severity of such risk. And lastly, transfer. It refers to when organizations transfer enterprise risk by entering into insurance arrangements. Through risk transfer, the organization reduces or eliminates the potential impact of the risk. Furthermore, the senior management must make risk transfer decision considering the cost and benefit of risk transfer. And at the end of this part, it really shows that risk management is undoubtedly important in every part of decision making. Let's move on what is business continuity planning. It is a process whereby businesses ensure the recovery of critical business operations, including services, to customers when confronted with adverse events such as natural disasters and other more. In addition, it is a coordinated strategy involving plans and procedures that assures clients that you have the ability to continually meet their needs. BCP or Business Continuity Planning is a process to ensure that the necessary steps are taken into account. First, identify the risk. Second, incident response. Third, business recovery. Fourth is plan updates. I've also learned the importance of BCP or the Business Continuity Planning. We need BCP. I've also learned the importance of BCP or the Business Continuity Planning. We need BCP. I've learned also the importance of BCP or Business Continuity Planning. I've learned also the importance of BCP or Business Continuity Planning because we need BCP in order for us to maintain continuity operations, customer service, relocate critical operations quickly, minimize financial losses, reduce disruptions to critical operations, achieve orderly recovery and comply legal and contractual audits and government regulations and other more. There are also 3 phases of creating and re-evaluating BCP plans. Phase 1. It is the risk assessment phase which establishes the risk framework and also identifies the primary threats to day-to-day operations. Phase 2. It is the activities that includes the development of alternative recovery strategies. And lastly, Phase 3. It is the activities that includes documentation of the business continuity. Let's move on to business process. Business process is a set of activities that often undertaken by numerous employees across departments that needs to be completed to achieve organizational goal. It can also be simple or complex processes. There are 3 types of business process. First is core, which are those cross-functional processes. Second, support. These are the processes that enable core processes to be carried out. And lastly, management. These processes involve planning, measuring, monitoring, and controlling the core and support processes. Furthermore, it is important to understand business processes in order to increase process efficiency, lower operating costs, reduce errors, increase agility, monitor compliance, measure processes performance, promote collaboration, identify automation opportunities, and lastly, standardization. Let's also move on to corporate reputation. Corporate reputation is the sum of all the views and beliefs held about the company. There are 2 main components, the perception and reality. The perception is how a company is perceived by all stakeholders, while reality is the truth about the company's policies, practices, procedures, systems, and performance. There are also 3 elements to reputation. First is brand reputation, second is organizational reputation, and lastly, stakeholders' reputation. I've learned also the elements of reputation. First, images. It is what stakeholders think of company. Second, identity. It is what the company says it is. And lastly, the personality. It is what the company is all about. At the end of this module, I learned that a good reputation is more valuable than money.